All right, this is a Frontline radio show. I am your co-host, Queenie Greene, and this is Pop Radio Worldwide, baby. Spotify Premium, iHeartRadio. Today's guest, we have Andrew Stroth. He is an astounding civil rights attorney, advocate, activist. Yo, make sure you here with us every Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. We talking all the frontline topics. We have it all for you. Make sure you check us out. Stay in tune with us. You can check us out, Tryone Muhhammad at YouTube. You can also check everything we do out on my YouTube. Subscribe to hashtag Queenie Greene. That's hashtag QUEENIE. Greene with an E, baby. That's GREENE. Make sure you check out WVOG Media Chicago. You can find all our shows as well on the Windy City Review. Hashtag Queenie Greene. Yo, Pop Radio Worldwide. Make sure you stay in tune.
How I keep from going under. How I keep from going under. In the morning I prayed to...
All right. You are back with us for another Tuesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. You already know where you are. This is the Frontline Radio Show. I am your co-host. Got the host down there, Tryone Muhhammad.
Hey, Queenie.
Today we have Andrew Stroth.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And say it again for me.
Eric Russell.
Eric Russell.
The American activist.
The American activist. This is Spotify Premium, iHeartRadio, Pop Radio Worldwide. Make sure you check in. You do not want to miss these frontline conversations that we have on a weekly basis. Let's go.
Hey, listen. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to go right into it with Andrew Stroth to let him introduce himself and tell us and you out there who he is, what he do, and then we're passing on to Mr. Eric Russell. He made it clear, and I'm gonna help him brand it right here on iHeartRadio, Pop Radio, Spotify Premium. That's the American activist Eric Russell. I want my
This is so good like you, brother.
Go ahead, then, brother Andrew. Tell the people who you are and how long you've been an attorney, and,
Sure.
and your particular brand of.
So I appreciate Tyrone having me on this show tonight. My name is Andrew Stroth. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I spent 20 years representing NFL and NBA players and television personalities. So I used to represent Dwayne Wade. I used to represent Michael Vick. I used to represent Donovan McNabb. And 5 years ago, God gave me a vision. 5.5 years ago, God gave me a vision. And he wanted me to create a civil rights law firm dedicated to representing black and brown victims of unjustified and unconstitutional police shootings. Fast forward to today, we represent arguably more victims of police shootings than almost any law firm in America.
Wow.
So that's who we are.
So the little old you, Eric, Andrew Stroth, represent more police shooting than major law firms?
Yeah, major law firms. It's all we do.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, I mean, it's our focus. I mean, our mission, our focus is like being the Navy SEALs, but focused on black and brown communities that are getting unjustifiably hurt and injured and killed by police, and not just in Chicago, all over the country.
So your main location, headquarters, is in Chicago?
We're headquartered in Chicago, but we have cases all over the country.
All right, we got Mr. Eric Russell, the American activist, comrade. We've been on the front lines together. This is the Frontline Show, and these are frontline men, and these are frontline issues. So, Eric, go ahead, man. You know how to handle it.
You know, the first thing that I want to do is that I want to tip my hat to ECCSC. I think the work that you're doing with ex-cons, helping them to reassemble, reacclimate back into society, but more importantly, you're giving a voice, because the vast majority of us are the opinion that the prison industrial pipeline is being fed.
Yes,
and
sir.
so I just really want to thank you for the tremendous work that you've done. My name is Eric Russell. I'm the founding president of the Tree of Life Justice League. I started out maybe 15 years ago. I was a banker for many years. I started out protecting the land. I helped bring forward the class action lawsuits when I was a banker for a countrywide Bank of America for institutional racism, predatory lending, and redlining. And so that's a lawsuit that we won an award for over $485 million, and we helped protect a lot of people's homes. So I transitioned from there to at the Tree of Life Justice League. We advocate for families whose loved ones have been brutalized, tortured, or murdered by police.
Yes, sir.
And today, thus far, unfortunately, nationally, we advocate for maybe 40 families nationwide. Matter of fact, I want to tip my hat to Attorney Strofe. Today, Attorney Strofe filed a federal civil rights lawsuit for the Tyrese family. This was a 17-year-old kid that was shot multiple times by a racist killer cop.
What is this, in Racine,
Racine, Wisconsin. And this kid was double tapped in the back of the head, execution style,
by police?
while he rode his bike.
What?
Reminiscent of, maybe he can elaborate.
I want
on
him to elaborate on that. Let's most definitely elaborate on that. That's very important. That's very serious. Despite the money is never enough to when you have a death or a murder, but that's just what you all do. Y'all try to bring some sense of relief to the family by holding the police, the city, or the state. I don't know who all you all sue, but before you get into that, I wanted to know, how did you and Eric Russell become such a tight team? What happened with that you thought you needed him?
Well, I think there's a lot of parts of it, right?
Let me tell you the story. Before I met Andrew Strofe,
Right.
I was at Johnny Cochran's grave talking, Johnny, please get up. Please get up. Because we just needed a real civil rights attorney.
Yes.
And I want to be clear, I was just so tired of these blood-sucking Jew lawyers coming into our community, just taking from us, and just never giving anything back. So I was looking, families just needed quality legal representation.
Yeah.
And so what I dug about Andrew is that he ran his law firm more like a ministry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was a certain spiritual, because he had been successful. He's been as a sports attorney, but he was giving back. You know, he was doing a lot of things. Andrew was burying people, doing pro bono work, giving free advice. You know.
And with that being said, while we're on that subject, I want to just ask Andrew real quick, and let's kill the elephant in the room, because most cases, when they end up, the police shooting, wrongful death, accident, and you sue entities, individuals, corporations, people look at, so we see the Jew lawyers and other lawyers as ambulance chasers. So what separates what you do from the ambulance chaser? Or, I'm sure you've heard that connotation before. And if you will, man, I'm going to let you defend yourself and explain that on your own.
I mean, I spent 20 years representing pro athletes at the highest level.
Yes, sir.
I created Action to serve our community. And as Eric mentioned, it is a faith-based law firm.
Right.
We want to serve these mothers and these families. Every single mother that we represent, there's not any amount of money to put a value on their child. So while in the civil lawsuit context, we'll pursue a legal remedy, but we're also trying to hold officers and others accountable in the criminal justice system. I mean, this Friday, Officer Lowell Hauser is facing either first-degree, second-degree murder, or an acquittal for the unjustified fatal shooting of our client, Jose Nieves, 38-year-old man who was shot and killed by an officer with an extensive background. We worked with the state's attorney's office, with Kim Fox, and the investigation to make sure she had the evidence to charge criminally. So our law firm isn't just about making money for families.
Often
our law firm
you send your own investigators out so often, and you get the information, and then you also present that information to the state's attorney's office to say, hey, this is why you should prosecute.
The streets don't know and don't want to talk to police.
Exactly.
What we've done is we've brought our witnesses and our objective evidence to the state's attorney's office, to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. I mean, Eric knows this. We are following the evidence. And the other thing we do, whenever there's a case, we go get all the video, we get eyewitness statements. We are on the front end getting evidence, because had you read the Laquan McDonald police report and then watched the video, those are two different narratives. And so from our perspective, we want to gather the evidence.
So look, I want to get back to the Laquan McDonald, because that was big. That kind of tore up the city. So I want you to come back to that after this breaks. So listen, You are tuned in to the Frontline show. I'm your host, Tryone Muhhammad with Queenie, Greene. Come on back. This is iHeartRadio, Spotify Premium, Pop Radio Worldwide.
God, day to night, I pray to the bird of thunder. Pray to the bird of thunder. Conversations with my creator. Tell him take me to the top floor, but stuck on this elevator. Oh, the days of my life plus a wake up. I can't breathe like I'm in the gas chamber. Your closest neighbor, they do your danger. Run your name through the.
Welcome back to the Frontline show. I'm your host, Tryone Muhhammad. Listen, we got some great information. Please tell somebody to tell somebody and share with somebody. This is Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeart Radio, Spotify Premium. Let's get back to our discussion. Before we went to break, we was talking about the Laquan McDonald and how that particular case, the firestorm of that. You want to elaborate more?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing is, video evidence matters. And if you look at the Laquan McDonald police reports, but then you look at the Laquan McDonald video, those are two very different narratives.
Yes, sir.
Every case that we have, we want to get video evidence. Everyone is a citizen journalist. Everyone has a cell phone.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving Day, brother from Chicago, Bernard Kirsch, was body slammed by the Chicago police.
That video made me sick. I shared it nationally, and that was amazing. And the fact that you had that, I know that case is in good hands because you had it.
Yes. Well, the thing about that case is that Chicago police officer trained mixed martial artist. So his hands and his legs and his body are a weapon. And if you look at the way he slammed Bernard, he could have killed Bernard or paralyzed Bernard.
Like a usual body slam.
And you're supposed to be trained at de-escalation. The offender was compliant. They're not, but they're supposed to be.
Yes,
and so again, we have a lot of cases, but if you look at the video evidence, that's what matters. Because people may not believe what they read, but when you see video, that video speaks for itself.
And so we talked about this on the break because the initial reason that they're saying that he body slammed him is because he spit inside of the car, or he spit on the officer.
That's what the officer said.
That's what the officer said. And so what I just asked is, between body cam, police car, the vehicle cam, there's no evidence that he actually spit in. So again, I'm going to each situation that I know that can be done, DNA testing.
Yes.
None of that's been done.
We have no DNA testing, plus the video. We captured video from the commercial establishments nearby, and you can't see anything on the video that shows that he in fact spit on the officer.
It looked like he was just talking.
But assume he did. Even if he did spit on the officer, that's excessive force.
He could have been arrested.
But
if that's the point, then arrested. But he
taken him to custody.
And that's a simple assault, really, right? Spitting on the person is a simple assault in the case.
It could be a felony assault.
What? Because it's an officer.
Well, just again, it could be HIV, it could be AIDS, it could be But again, that's it.
Is the officer still on duty? Is he
the
suspended as of now?
He's still getting paid, but he's on desk duty, to our knowledge.
And it has been a recommendation of termination.
Yeah, the two officers have been recommended for discipline. Both officers.
So once the verdict comes in, what ultimately is the officer looking at?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's a couple different things. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability is doing an investigation into the officer. The State's Attorney's Office has a division that focuses on officers' misconduct. And then the client, our client, Bernard Kirsch, is facing criminal charges right now.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you, Bernard Kirsch has mental health challenges. He's diagnosed schizophrenic, and
and legally blind.
And legally blind in one eye. And legally blind in one eye.
Yes.
So you have an offender that didn't present any threat to the officer, but the officer was so pissed he did a professional takedown and he smashed his head on the curb. Bernard Kirsch could have been killed.
What happened to his head, brain? We already know he had mental issues. I'm imagining.
As of right now, you don't know. There could be damage that
He's
surfaces.
We don't know.
They can lay dormant.
Yes.
Right. We're this week. We're bringing him to a doctor this week to get him fully tested.
If he has weak vision, I would assume that would definitely.
Well, he was injured. And the thing is, we have another case. Denigma Howard, 16-year-old girl, Marshall High School.
Yeah.
She had her cell phone. They didn't want her to mess with her cell phone. But instead of talking to her and resolving the situation.
That's a security guard, right?
No, but two police officers stationed within the school. One cuffed her, dragged her down the stairs, shot her with the taser, multiple punches to her face. I mean, Denigma Howard, 16-year-old girl. there shouldn't be police officers
But
in
our
schools.
most drastic, Andrew's most drastic client is 36-year-old Martina Stanley. She was actually ran over by the Chicago police, attempted murder on 71st and Jeffrey. Andrew Strofe, we have
that
him,
was sad.
he represents that. Where this officer, he weaponized a 4,000-pound vehicle to run this sister over. And now she's at Shirley Ryan's Ability Lab, fighting for her very life with brain damage and damage to her leg. And the stakes are high. Not only is Andrew, and we're working very hard to get this rogue cop, but also we have to win for this family because we have to have a life plan for her. Because over the next, she's only 30, over the next 50 years, who knows
See,
the brain damage.
I wanna,
she
while
would
we're
have.
on that subject, before we go on the break, I want to ask you, Andrew, like this iHeartRadio, this Pop Radio worldwide, and Spotify. So it's a lot of viewers that may see this. Just what is it about this culture of policing? Please explain to us, the people, what this is. Is it a matter really of just training, or is it the system that, or is it an innate racism as it relates to how they patrol people of color, black people?
Right. It's complex, and race matters, because if you look at the way they police in our communities versus in other communities,
Yes, sir.
race matters. And I don't think there's a simple solution. Yeah, you can train officers. I think they need to have officers from our communities. I think they need to train on the use of force. But I think racism is a deep concept. I mean, we want to shine the light. We're bringing, on May 7th, we're bringing 1,000 mothers to Washington, D.C. All whose sons have been, all whose sons or daughters have been shot, killed, or injured by police. And we're partnering with the Cato Institute, which is all about the abolishment of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is a legal principle that gives officers a protective shield, which allows them to do things. So I think that we want to shine the light on this problem, because if these kids are getting killed in Naperville or Hinsdale or Lincoln Park or Winnetka, people would take notice. But because they're getting killed in our communities and underserved communities, it hasn't risen to the level. So again, the Truth, Hope, and Justice Mothers March, May 7th. We're transporting 1,000 mothers to D.C.
And these are all mothers who lost their son to
sons or daughters
excessive force,
to
police violence.
And then we're going to go on Capitol.
You have 1,000 mothers.
1,000
Listen, Facebook, YouTube, iHeart, listener. You have 1,000 mothers who have lost whose sons have lost their life to police violence or excessive force.
Yeah, every year in America, at least 1,000 civilians are killed by police. So we are bringing these mothers. We're going to march on Capitol Hill. We're going to meet with members of Congress. We're going to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus. And then we're going to do a gospel celebration at a church with the Soul Children of Chicago and Walt Whitman, and we're going to celebrate the lives of these families and their sons and daughters killed by police. We're going to raise awareness around this issue, and we're going to advocate on Capitol Hill for the abolishment of qualified immunity.
And, you know, just to let me elaborate on your question more emphatically, Brother Tyrone, is that police have taken off their white sheets and put on blue uniforms and carrying a badge.
Yes.
They used to carry our people out to the back 40 by torchlight and hang us from trees to
the back 40.
Fruit.
That's some old country stuff.
Yeah,
What that
they
mean?
do it.
40 yards.
They carry us back in the woods, and the tree that bears strange fruit.
Yes, sir.
But now they shoot us in broad daylight, and then when we see it, they tell us what our lying eyes did not see. We did not see that killer white man jump out that car and shoot that child 16 times.
I know I can say more than 10 times that I've been driving around the city, and you see one young man and 5 police cars. You'll see 12 officers, one young man, 2 young men, but 5 to 10. There's been times that I know I counted at least 10 officers with one young man up against a wall,
Yeah.
a gate or something. And at that point,
Dang,
that's the point when you get the 16 shots. Because at that point, you can't tell me that 10 to 12 officers on one individual can all see the same thing. There's no way. So whoever's further, that's who's coming shooting because he thought he saw a movie.
Different perspective,
You know,
yes.
and I say it all too many times, all too much. For, like you say, YouTube, Facebook, everyone, when you are out in the streets, this is what we need for the community. We need to come together, and we have our phones, we have tablets, we have all of these different devices. You need to be that Samaritan, whether you know a person or not. Be that Samaritan and maybe take video. At least stand out. If you're not in that much of a rush, and if you care about this life, pull over. You know, at least let them know that there are eyes on them, because I get scared every time I see this, because I think if that young man makes one false move, he's going to be on the news.
Take us a break, Queen.
All right, this is the Frontline Radio Show. I am your co-host, Queenie Greene, host Tyrone Muhhammad. We have Andrew Strock. I'm not going to do it again. I might. Eric Russell. Why do I want to call you Derek? But it's Eric. Eric Russell. Pop Radio Worldwide, Spotify Premium, iHeartRadio. Make sure you come back with us. We are talking Frontline topics every Tuesday, 5 to 7.
Mud like a ringler, cause they can't hit your angle. Parking lot spot. Quick to hit to save it. That's why I roll alone, me and my angels. I lost my mind long time ago. Diablo, pull up my strings like a banjo. I can't go, I won't go. Lord, tell me what you got me here for.
Welcome back. This is the Frontline Show. Listen, Andrew Stroh, Eric Russell, we back. And I want to talk about FOP and how that looks like. What do that looks like? And really, Andrew, you've been dealing with them for so long. What is the FOP really, man?
Yeah, you know, I think I'm going to defer to my colleague. Eric
Y'all hear him live.
I'm going to Eric Russell talk about FOP.
Hey, he done audible. He done changed the plate. Go ahead, Eric. Since you on the American Most Wanted list.
FOP, as most people know, stands for the Fraternal Order of Police. For lack of a better assessment, the FOP is a group of good old boys. A group of good old boys that just want to turn back the clock on black and brown people and relegate us to slavery and servitude.
When you say, wait, okay, this is what I'm trying to understand. Are they a union? Are they former police? What are they? You know, what?
They're exactly both. They're actually the police union. So their primary mission and membership is to advocate on behalf of police officers. So those of us who are advocating for reform, this is the problem that we have. Number one is that we have to concern ourselves with the enforcement of the federal consent decree, adhering to change. We have to also concern ourselves with the militarization of the Chicago police. They're dealing with black people like some damn Gestapo.
When you say militarization for the people out there in our hard world, you saying that is it the weapons, the cars, the tactics,
all of it,
maneuvers?
It's over. They treat black people like some energy insurgents.
They're acting like they're at war.
They're at war. Like Andrew said, I didn't know an SUV. How much it has?
4,000 pounds.
4,000 pounds. They took a 4,000-pound vehicle and ran over Martina Stanley. They are now allowed to carry automatic weapons in their. You're seeing the body armor. And we've seen officers engage in martial arts. And so these are the tactics that they are deploying. We also need to concern ourselves with the new police contract, which says that if you complain against a police officer, the police officer gets to know who you are.
Wait. If a citizen complain against a police officer, he's not.
He has to fill out a signed affidavit swearing who he is.
Which then makes that person unsafe.
But yes, but the police gets 48 hours to change their mind about their story, and they get to know who you are.
Andrew, you still
Yeah, I mean-
on the right to main side. Anything you say can be held against you in public opinion.
The Fraternal Order of Police is a powerful organization, is a powerful union, and for instance, when officers are disciplined, the FOP is doing everything they can to protect those officers. That's why, whether it's Robert Rialmo or Jason Van Dyke or any number of
But
these
dude,
officers.
according from what I see with FOP, I never see a police wrong or commit ever. They never say a police was ever wrong in nothing they do.
Well, there's a reason. I mean, this Friday, Officer Lowell Hauser is facing first-degree, second-degree murder. There's only been 3 times in the past 50 years where an on-duty or off-duty officer has been indicted and convicted for murder. So you're talking about 3 times in 50 years.
Three times in 50 years. Do we know how many bodies that lay in the grave that police have taken out in 50 years? Do we even have a
We don't even
number?
know how many Burgess did.
Yeah, we don't.
Well,
So my question for a civil rights attorney and an activist, most wanted list, Eric Russell.
Okay, my dear sister. Okay.
So my question, which I'm sure this is probably something that everyone in the minority community wants to ask and wants to figure out, how do we as citizens, how do we conduct ourselves? How do we live when we are at war and the war is against us and we have no right almost? At this point, the Constitution says we have right to, but do we actually have right in our communities? How do we fight a war that's against us? What do we do?
But the problem is you can still be doing the right thing. Philando Castile,
Wow.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, in his car with his girlfriend, shows his
remember.
concealed carry,
Wow.
gets shot
Yes,
and
he'll
killed
get shot.
in front of his girlfriend
Yes.
on a body camera. So I have a young black boy, 11-year-old son, and I don't. That's a hard question. I don't know how do you teach your son or your daughter how to
I
interact
have a
with police?
12-year-old son that
So-
is
so here's what we
stands
do.
about the
Here's
as
what
height of
we
an
do.
18-year-old, and he has a lot of problems in the neighborhood because he's 12, but he's as tall as tall as Tyrone.
Yeah, he's a nice little kid, man.
And you know, I'm scared. I tell him he's 12. He can't play tag. He can't be a kid, a 12-year-old kid, because playing
Running,
tag with his
running.
friends and he's called running. If a police has a call that says something is going on that block over
They quick
there,
to say
and
we
he's
have
running,
guns.
I may lose my
witnessed this.
son.
Right.
So at this point, I know in my household, my 12-year-old just can't go outside, and this is what we're facing in all of our communities. You know, and it's like I said, and I know it's almost a rhetorical question. But this is something that we as the African American community, we want to know, how do we police our own communities and not be murdered by the police? How do we face a war that's on us?
I think it's on us to police our own community. I mean, for one, with a 9%, you can correct me if I'm wrong, clearance rate on murders, they clearly can't solve anything. I mean, in that level, and our communities are at war against itself. It's a civil war of sorts going on from block to block, set to set, click to click. So we have to be the ones. But at some point, the community has to be empowered.
Yes.
And I don't know how that looks, because Eric could tell you, we out in these streets, and the resources are not there for us to be effective. But yet we have almost a $2 billion police budget.
Now we're talking about two things.
Yeah.
We're talking about gun violence,
Go ahead.
and we're talking about police accountability. I think, Queen, one of the most important things you said is that we are at war. I think the first thing that we have to accept is that there is a hunt.
Yes.
Those of us that have been kissed by the sun, the police have put targets on our children's back. So the first thing we have to do is that we have to acknowledge that war is no longer a rumor. It is upon us.
Yes.
And so then we must act accordingly. And when we say all hands on deck, well, when families come to me or come to Andrew, I expect Andrew to beat them down with every letter of the law. My job is to put out a clarion call for action and let them know that you cannot kill our women and children. All black men are not cowards. Some of us are willing to die. That's why I defended. I had so much respect for Tyrone.
Go ahead.
I had so much respect for Tyrone when he went to that Asian nail shop and bust them windows out.
Yes.
Tyrone is a brother that has been through some trials and tribulation. There should have been a long line in front of Tyrone.
Yes.
For brothers who are on the bricks, if I may use the vernacular of the street, when Tyrone wasn't. So the fact, because if we don't take a stand, the enemies of our people will think black men are cowards and unwilling to die.
And
our children
I
will
would
live.
say they already think that. That's why they continue to disrespect our women, our community, and they continue to sell us out with our black leaders, politicians, and pastors. And that's been going on before I was born. And real quick, listen, y'all see this? Y'all see the subject? Y'all see the topic? We on fire. Come on back after this messages. Take care. This is our last one. Y'all go get everybody, share it, like it, love it.
No matter which way I turn, always ended up hitting the curb. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? Wondering if I'm being heard.
Welcome back to the Frontline show. Andrew, Eric. I always say, they say, man, police, right? And I always say there's no good police. And they always like, even when I tell the police that, or commanders, and they always ask me why. Because I say, give me an account of 10 police officers, good cops, that turn in bad cops. Is there even a record of cops, 10 fingers in Chicago? Can you give me 10 accounts of so-called good cops turning in bad cops?
We're talking about whistleblowers.
10 accounts.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but there's some good cops out here. I mean, we file lawsuits every week all over the country, and we file lawsuits against cops that violate people's constitutional rights.
Do cops show up and say their fellow officer was excessive in their enforcement of the...
Well, if you study the Department of Justice reports.
Yes, sir.
And the code of silence is real.
Yes.
And good officers are not going to tell the truth about their partners that do bad things. That's part of the code of silence. One thing we're doing...
But they expect gangbangers to tell
True.
and snitch.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
And induce, they use inducements, the
Sure.
state's attorneys,
Right.
or
a confidential informant.
deduce.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways.
Right.
You can't use confidential informants to lock us up.
Right.
And then when it comes to them,
Right.
there's none of them stepping
Right.
up
Well,
against themselves. But
Eric jokes around.
Right.
IPRA, OPS,
Right.
COPA. There's all these acronyms for organizations that are supposed to investigate the police.
Hey, the alphabet soup game.
Yeah.
What do our tax dollar pay for those, or
Yes,
they
sir.
just get federal? They get funded
No,
for
no,
private.
Hey,
ones? Our tax dollar pay for them groups.
Yeah, they work for you.
Please give me all their names, Eric. I
You see
need
them,
to line
Reverend
them up.
Edie and,
I want all the
Jason.
alphabets.
Yeah.
We got to hold them accountable for not serving the people.
Well, you
Go ahead.
know what? It's just like we must have a zero tolerance for bad cops. As a
Yes.
police accountability advocate, I am not anti-cop. I am anti-bad cop.
No.
And what I believe is that the police must uphold the law while they enforce the law. It's just like somebody telling you, what if you went on vacation for Christmas and you at the airline and they say, you know, Tyrone, we have a few pilots that like to crash into mountains, but the vast majority of our pilots do
They
land their
They
plane.
do land.
They do land.
But the vast majority.
But we
crash.
do have a few that like to crash
Right.
with full passengers.
Right, because that's what it is, because I can't take a chance with my life
Right.
that a bad cop will roll up on me
And
for
we
just
don't
me.
know
See,
who
I'm the
is
type
who.
that's gonna say, I'm not rolling down nothing. I'm gonna crack it. What's up? What you need, sir? And I have every right to do that.
But
Yes.
that's what happened with the mentally ill case when our dear brother Caleb Muhammad,
Yeah.
the Muslim police officer, He shot.
Sure did.
He shot the young child Hayes, who was mentally
And
handicapped in front of his house.
that's a travesty and an outrage.
And he got 6 months.
This the Muslim brother.
Yeah, the Muslim brother shot the kid.
He should be outcast.
Yeah.
He shouldn't even have a place in the community. It don't matter your religion,
We should
your
stone
brand,
him. We should
nothing.
stone him like we used to do.
Nothing.
In the
Lord.
village square.
You say stone them?
Yeah, just stone him. Tie him to a post.
Go, hey, listen.
Well, but
we
he got 6 months though.
That's ridiculous. That's
He
ridiculous.
got 6 months.
I don't care what he is. If he violated
Wrong
the
is
people,
wrong, and
wrong
right
is
is
wrong.
right.
But Andrew, Eric, you first, and then I'm gonna let Andrew wrap it up and
Now,
tell
let
the
Andrew
people.
wrap it up.
Okay. Here we go.
Because he's a brilliant guy.
Listen,
and I really enjoy
People,
listening to him.
y'all really don't understand the work that this man do, or shall I say does? People,
Well, you know
I
what?
get-
Let me sing his praise. I can do that. I can sing his praise.
So listen, let me just say this. This is I know of a lot of issues and incidents where that he's brought forth and brought to the consciousness of the people. So with that being said, I want him to tell you where you all can find him if you have issues, how to locate them, and how important your civil rights are.
So I'm humbled to be here, Tyrone and Queenie. I appreciate, and Eric's been a big advocate. I mean, we are going to leverage the law and the power of the law to address unconstitutional policing in America. We are leveraging the consent decree that Lori Lightfoot has the opportunity to enforce and manage. We are going to bring 1,000 mothers and their families to Washington, D.C. on May 7th.
National attention.
National attention to change the game. You know, I can be reached at actioninjurylawgroup.com. Again, that's actioninjurylawgroup.com. We're headquartered in Chicago, but we help families nationwide. Eric is the American activist and can be found at Tree of Life Justice League, and we're going to effectuate change. But the only way it happens is with the community support and the community's involvement and advocates like you all here to help us make it happen.
Listen, man, this we can have a show like this every day with the number of shootings and the lives that's been lost in Chicago as a result of police misconduct. I just really hope and pray that with this new mayor, man, we can usher in some that was a big sigh. Some form of social justice for our communities, man, because the way our sons and our daughters are dying out here and all over the community. I was just at Suarez High School where they just shot the little
16-year-old girl.
was he Mexican?
16-year-old.
Sister, Puerto Rican sister,
Mexican.
what had Mexican, and they hurting just like we hurt. And any child getting shot coming to and fro from school, man, that's an honor student is a no. It's like when are our children safe, man? And it's like you can't even solve those cases, but yet you have time to hide behind murders of the people you ought to be serving and protecting.
You're here.
And that's so serious, man. And I'm just tired of us burying our sons and our daughters
It's the same
and not
thing with
protecting our children, man. You know, and Eric, last word?
Well, I would say is that it is no longer a rumor, Brother Tyrone. War has been declared. I would say at the Tree of Life Justice League, I am of the belief that police reform is the great civil rights battle of this lifetime and this generation. They are killing our women and children with impunity. And what I would say to my brothers and sisters is that be your brother's keeper, not his executioner.
Yes.
Right.
Because no army kills its own soldiers. And if we are to win this war against the enemies of our people, we must find common ground to be our brother's keeper. That's the only way we would beat this blue-eyed devil who would deny our children their God-given right to the tree of life.
That is nice, bro. I appreciate you. Almost made me cry right there. And I don't do a lot of crying like that there, man. It sometimes it take loss to make me feel that way, man, and compel. But you know, this is the Frontline show, and these issues are what we want to bring forth to the community. We want to get better and better. We want your support. We'll be reaching out to y'all in iHeart land, Pop Radio land, and Spotify land, and we want in YouTube land to start organizing, building a movement to show up and show out when these incidents happen. So thank you all for tuning in. And my host, Queenie Greene.
All right, you already know. Be back here with us next Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. We want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at 7 Star. Make sure you download that app. I have Eric Russell. With Tree of Life Foundation. We have Andrew Strokes, Tyrone Muhammad. This is Spotify Premium. Pop Worldwide, Pop Radio Worldwide, iHeart Radio station. Once again, make sure every single Tuesday you are back for these issues. We are empowering, uplifting, and waking up the communities at the best rate we can, you guys. Make sure you come back with us.
I'm at the point of no return.
Do it for the block, drop a dime, you hot. Fucking with no cops, nigga, use a op. Bang! Ain't you heard of Pop? Did a lot. See vodka pain, don't get shot. Sometimes I wonder how I keep from going under. How I made it out the trenches, how I made it out the